We're starting off high.
We can get a two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot.
There was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
No, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a food raid.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live at Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
Trust a human to raise a pack of wolves.
before I would trust a pack of humans to raise a wolf.
Right. I hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Do Fools Agree. I'm your host, Michael Reggie. Tonight we're going to start things off on a little bit more of a somber note, a solemn note. We're going to have a quick moment of silence for George Floyd and everyone else killed by police in this country. Just for a moment here, and then I'm going to say a few quick words, and then we're going to get into a conversation. We'll introduce everybody that we've got with us tonight. All right. The thing I wanted to say is something I've seen going kind of around online recently, going around online right now, and I'm sure most people out there have seen it by now, but it's I don't want to say it's a poem, but it's kind of a couple of words, and it's basically just a list of names and what we're going to talk about real quick. And it's just called Say Their Names. And say something. Stand up for them. I know that I have privilege as a white person because I can do all these things without thinking twice. I can go birding, Christian Cooper. I can go jogging, Ahmaud Arbery. I can relax in the comfort of my own home, Botham Jean and Atiana Jefferson. I can ask for help after being in a car crash, Jonathan Farrell and Renisha McBride. I can have a cell phone, Stephon Clark. I can leave a party to get to safety, Jordan Edwards. I can play loud music, Jordan Davis. I can sell CDs, Alton Sterling. I can sleep, Ayanna Jones. I can walk from the corner store, Mike Brown. I can play Cops and Robbers, Tamir Rice, right here in Columbus, just down the street. I can go to church, the Charleston 9. I can walk home with Skittles and a hoodie, Trayvon Martin. I can hold a hairbrush while leaving my own bachelor party, Sean Bell. I can party on New Year's, Oscar Grant. I can get a normal traffic ticket, Sandra Bland. I can lawfully carry a weapon, Philando Castile. I can break down on a public road and with car problems, Corey Jones. I can shop at Walmart, John Crawford. I can have a disabled vehicle, Terrence Crutcher. I can read a book in my own car, Keith Scott. I can be a 10-year-old walking with our grandfather, Clifford Glover. I can decorate for a party, Claude Reese. I can ask a cop a question, Randy Evans. I can cash a check in peace, Yvonne Smallwood. I can take out my wallet, Amadou Diallo. I can run, Walter Scott. I can breathe, Eric Garner. I can live, Freddie Gray. And I can be arrested without the fear of being murdered, George Floyd. And one more that I'm adding to this is that I can call the police myself after being robbed without fear of being murdered, Destin Thomas. White privilege is real. Take a minute to consider a black person's experience today. Say their names, Black Lives Matter. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get into the show. I, of course, am Michael Reggie, your host, here as always with my man Cliff Jennings. Cliff, if you can just take a minute while I get audio flipped over for everyone else.
I will save it for the podcast. I guess we will basically use this time to introduce the other guests that you do not know. Ladies first, if you could please introduce yourself to the audience and also what you would bring to the conversation, if possible.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is India. I am a host on Wine Night Podcast. That's Wine Night Podcast 614 on Instagram. I am a lawyer, and in law school, I traveled down to Ferguson when Mike Brown was killed to assist protesters on the legal side of things. I also have my master's in women's studies, so I bring an intersectional perspective to the conversation. And I can talk about your legal rights, protesters' legal rights, and legal rights in general. But I'm also a Black woman, so I come from a personal. This comes from a personal point of view as well.
And we appreciate having you, and you as well, sir. If you could introduce yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Derek. My family member was killed by CPD in 2012. He was the last name on the list that Mike Reggie named off, Destin Thomas. So I have a very personal experience to what it means to have one of your family members taken by police with no regard.
God bless the dead. And I'm sorry, before we do go further, because I'm recognizing your situation with you being the lawyer, did that have any way, shape, or form on how you two met at all?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Still connected.
No.
Okay. Just wanted to check. And you as well, cousin.
Mr. Fox.
Oh, cousin.
Come
You
on,
know who
man.
you are. Don't play with me. Or you ain't coming to the barbecue.
I didn't know we were that close.
Oh, no, we're that close.
Hey, my name's Matt, and previous guest on the podcast, and I'm just an interested party. I'm tired of seeing this shit happening in the world, and I just want to be a part of it.
And of course, we appreciate you as well. And last but not least, Coach.
No, you're muted.
Are we skipping?
Hold on 1 second, Tyler. You're breaking up. Do me a favor. Cut your audio off and back on.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Better.
Perfect.
So far,
Cool. Yeah, so Tyler back. I was on previously a couple weeks ago when we were talking UFC. One of the things that I'm interested in discussing and
We will.
is a unique experience to me is my background. I spent 7 years active duty as a law enforcement officer, a graduate of a police academy, somebody that has performed law enforcement duties day in, day out. So definitely a perspective that I hope that we can bring to the conversation.
And once again, we appreciate everyone being here. I guess I will use this time, since I have been late to previous podcasts. Not last week, though. I will say not last
You
week.
were on time last week, and I'm the one that missed sound check yesterday. So
But
Week before.
I have
Week
been
before, he was still asleep. Week before.
You'll have to hold on to that, sir. But I have an inadvertent thought that will lead into the conversation that we're having.
okay,
And I know for the people that are here, I don't have to preface or reiterate, but for those that are in attendance, each and every one of you know this is all love here. This is just a conversation. There will unfortunately be some things that are said that may offend some people. And I just want to put it out. I'm just stating my truths, and I don't mean it intentionally unless it brings forth progress, if I'm being completely honest. But my inadvertent thought is just over the week with seeing your girl in the park, your Amy Coopers, and I'm not going to break down the situation, but to use that as a weapon is pretty ill. Beyond that, there was another situation with, I believe it was like 3 young black men that were at a gym in a business building that they were leasing, that the same thing happened. Of course, they're not saying they were attacked, but questioning where you are, give me your unit number, things that aren't your business, and then calling the police because you're not comfortable with someone being there.
yeah,
The list goes on. There's Barbecue Becky's. There's everything like this. And my number one thought is, I think to myself with all that happening, and I think, why can't white people just mind their fucking business? And number one is because they don't have to. They don't have to. They run the world, so you don't have to mind your business. You're never in a situation where it could be rough if you don't.
Right.
Or it could be a threat if you don't mind your business. So that's a privilege that you have the ability to use, and that even sadder, people will come running to aid in situations like that, and the inevitable ends up happening. So even deeper, I got thinking, well, what about snitching? Because I have black people that I'm close to that have never operated in the streets. And for those that don't know what I mean by that, I mean you have no gang affiliation, you've never sold drugs or done anything left of center in the streets that would disown their child if they were snitching. And I thought to myself, well, why exactly is that? You know what I mean? If you're not, you don't, because the rule is, if you're in the streets, you don't snitch.
right.
But if you're just a regular citizen, why would you disown your own if you caught them snitching? But when you see the consequence of what happens when white people do it so much, for you to be a black person and know the possibility of what could happen, kind of gives you insight
Absolutely.
into why we keep our mouth shut.
Absolutely.
As a culture.
Because you know that if you're the one to call, it doesn't matter whether you're the one to call or not, you will become a target the minute they arrive on the scene expecting trouble. Or not even expecting trouble. Just looking for trouble.
I also want to use that point to educate a lot of people. It's something that bothers all black people, but no black people speak on it because it's not quite egregious enough to want to point out. Please stop using the term, there goes trouble. When you see one or you see multiple black people, don't say, oh, there goes trouble, because you say it jokingly, but understand that's the same narrative that the police use when they pull up to gun us down.
Absolutely.
And it gets stuck in your subconscious to think that you're just poking fun, but it's really deeper than that. And there's so many more things like that that one really wouldn't understand, that I feel like it is beneficial to have conversations like this on. But I just wanted to share that inadvertent thought in hopes that it would bring to light to people that don't quite understand why we operate the way we do. So that was mine. Whomever else has one, feel free to share. If not, we can get right into the thick of things.
I mean, I think we should go ahead and get into the thick of things. I think I'm going to save mine for when we turn the script on this.
And I have another one
and
as
go
well.
a little bit more lighter.
I have another one as well, but I'm
Right.
saving that.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, Cliff and I talked about this early in the week in terms of, was this something we wanted to talk about? And I know Cliff in particular, we've had conversations around things like this in the past, and in your own words, I think you've told me you're tired of talking about it because you feel like you've said your piece on it.
I don't want to be the irate black guy. You know
Right.
what I mean? But it seems like week in and week out I'm put in a situation that sparks that flame in me.
I hear you.
And I mean, to be honest, I don't want to sound repetitive, but at the same time, I feel like this specific situation deserves more of a dialogue, just because I'm sure that there are more eyes on a situation now than there would have been on episodes we've had in the past, especially because Mike's done a great job with putting together the panel that we have today for numerous reasons. But yeah,
and I think one of the important things is that we shouldn't be giving you a reason to be an irate black person, right?
I respect that.
If we stop providing that ammunition, things stop happening like this.
I respect that.
We can start to make the changes that we need to change, I think.
Now, I want to ask of anyone else, and this is probably something that should have been done in production, but does anyone have a specific way that they would like to start the conversation?
There's just so many
I
different
don't mind to start. I mean, I think you guys were...
Go for it,
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the law enforcement part, Cliff, I know you had some questions about that. And here's the thing, like, as someone that's been through a law enforcement academy, has been taught restraint techniques, the first thing that they teach you is that the moment you place handcuffs on an individual, you're responsible for their well-being from the time those cuffs are on until the time they make it to a jail cell. Now, if that means protecting them from your own partners, that's part of the situation. So whoever placed those cuffs on that gentleman, they're just as responsible as the guy that had his knee on his neck, in my opinion, from a legal standpoint.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, and I don't want to cut you off. I want you to continue your point. But I'm so sick of people just addressing the guy kneeling on his neck.
Right.
Like there
Absolutely.
wasn't other two officers on his torso and legs as well.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing is the only we will only see progress if the police start to police themselves. They can no longer stand by when they see something egregious happening and just say, you know what, I know that guy's got my back if the shit hits the fan, because that's not going to get you or get us where we need to be in the end game. That might help you there, but you signed up for this job.
So
and it's a difficult job.
I do agree with you there.
I want to agree with you there. I want to say that in general, I have no doubt that, being a law enforcement officer is a difficult job. There's a couple of things. One, that's the career you chose. Nobody feels sorry for teachers when they're working, 70-hour weeks and those kind of things. I think beyond that, I think I understand your intent with the comment around the police have to police themselves. I would say until you have mandatory citizen review boards that have authority to fire and bring charges against people, I think that's the path. Because I think we've proven that systemically the system's broken. Police forces in general are broken. And I'm not saying there's not good cops out there. I know good cops.
Right.
I mean, you've met Mike Malloy, and I'm sure you've got friends that are cops, and we've got Tony who drew the artwork for us. His dad's a former officer. I'm not saying there's not good cops, but the problem is the system is so broken that if you can act without impunity in terms of any action you take, nothing is going to come onto you. First of all, I'd like to say good job Minnesota for bringing charges against him and arresting him today.
Right.
I don't
I don't-
necessarily
One
think
out
that
of
he's
four.
going to. Well, and I agree.
All four got fired.
All 4 were fired, which was good too. And
Not enough.
I'm saying accessories should be a fact of that as well. And charges can still come, but it doesn't. The charges don't fucking matter unless they stick.
Right.
Well, because
here's
we've seen-
my 2 cents on this too is well, one, going back to your point there is, I mean, I'm sorry. I had a really good point, and then you went to a different spot.
Well, let us know if you need us to come back, because I have a lot to say
Go for it, Derek.
about that as well.
Just to add on to what Mike said, and I definitely agree with Tyler. Like, something needs to happen as far as the police being held accountable. But from what I've seen, from seeing my cousin's death, the police already police themselves. That's how they
Right.
keep everything kosher and keep
The blue wall of silence.
because
Right.
okay, CPD shoots somebody, the sheriff's department comes and investigates. The sheriff's department doesn't find anything wrong with it because the sheriff's department are police officers too. So
Right. And then the prosecutor's
Yeah.
office, who works
Sure.
with cops all the time to prosecute crimes, obviously have to
Right.
maintain a politically sound relationship with the police department. I think you all make a great point in with respect to addressing it as a systemic issue, because a lot of times the rhetoric is this one bad apple, this one individual white person is just a shitty person. Like, no, they're allowed to act in the way that they're allowed to act because this is a systemic issue. It's literally in the DNA of the
And-
organization.
Listen,
Right,
there's
and
a-
everyone, like we mentioned, they
Go
tend
ahead.
to focus on the cop that had his knee on the gentleman's neck. The other gentlemen are just as obligated and just as bad at their job if they don't say something, right? Like, if you're not stepping in to say, yo, he's okay, we got him down, back off, like, you're a bad cop. You might not be the one that killed him, but you are a bad cop. You are bad at your job.
I'll even
Seriously.
take it a step further. And I want you, Matt, to have your turn because it sounded like your thought came back to you. But if you stand and record, now in this situation, I understand it was a 17-year-old female. Don't put yourself in that situation. But me as a
Yeah.
black man, if I can stand and record while a man begs for his mother because he can't breathe, and I don't do anything to intervene, I'm a piece of shit as well.
I don't necessarily know that I agree with that because you don't
That's-
know the
that's
situation in
based
terms
on-
of having to put their own life on the line.
Listen, I don't
Because
care.
as soon as they do anything, speak up, yell, try to tackle him off of him, you're dead too.
No matter of mine. Because
It is though
listen,
if you've got a family and you've got people to provide for.
no matter of mine. We as a country have reached our quota. We have reached our quota, and at this point, it is a defense, in my opinion, of by any means necessary. Now, I'm not saying shoot a cop down but no, if I have to get physical, then yes, I will. If you choose to shoot me afterwards, then so be that. But I will not live knowing I watched a man take his last breath while begging for his mother.
That was my first thought whilst watching that the first time, Cliff. Like, at a certain point, I don't know if I could have just stood by and at a certain point, just like fuck it.
Did
I
you
don't
know his
care.
mother
Like,
was
I
dead?
can't just
Did
stand
you
on
know
the
his mother
sidewalk
was
and
dead
watch
though
that.
as well?
Like, you stop moving at a certain point, and it's just like get the fuck off.
I have no
like,
words. I have no words
stand there
anymore.
And let that happen.
I have no words anymore other than I feel like I have an obligation. Listen, officer, if you plan on killing that black man, plan on killing me as well, because I'm drawing mine. If you do that, I'm drawing mine as well. So there will be more than one body, I guarantee you today.
Yeah.
People used to be, I don't want to say people used to be, but the generation before us was willing to, be beat, even lose their lives to create change. I think we live in a time where we've got so comfortable because we have all these things. We have YouTube, we have Netflix, we have, you know, in our quarantine, we can have our Mike DeWine gave us our margaritas. We're good, you know. So we don't have to sacrifice anything per se. When in actuality, we do. So I think Cliff does bring a good point to that. I also agree. I mean, it's tough because I agree with Mike. At the same time, it's like, you know, if you do get involved, you lose your life. But if you want to make a change, sometimes the sacrifice
I mean,
is necessary.
sometimes it does take
It
a
is,
martyr.
and I agree with you 100%. So let me explain it for those that don't quite understand our sentiment from a cultural perspective. Just as important situation, the child sex trafficking. To take it completely away from race, if that was your child, and I had the ability to stop that person from taking that child, would you not expect, not even expect, I don't want to use a word so strong as expect, let's just say, let's flip it, and let's say, would you not be appreciative of the effort and the risk that I put on the line as police officers should be doing for the very people they're killing? I feel like it's very easy for someone to see a black man
You're breaking
say,
up kind of bad there.
I am.
Yeah.
Are we
I
back?
don't know if that's happening.
Is it better?
Yep.
It
All
is
right.
better
Yeah,
now. Can you hear me a bit?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I was about to
We
say
can
it's
hear you
very
now.
easy for people that don't know or understand to hear me and Derek say something like that and say, well, see, that's the problem there. But to flip it in that situation of a sex trafficking, even if you yelled to bring attention that someone was grabbing my child, I would be in debt. And it's no different
Yeah.
from a man on the ground. That's someone's child.
Yeah.
You guys are muted.
Yeah.
You guys, Derek,
Up to-
India,
Derek in India, you're muted.
I think Reggie did it.
I
can see
did
you,
not.
that kind of guy.
Mike is the oppressor. He's the patriarchy. He wanted to stop. He wanted to stop your voice. I'm just playing.
I am the white man, you know.
I'm just playing.
Silence us.
He's just very light. He's not white.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, from a legal standpoint, having the video can be helpful. Now, it hasn't been helpful in all cases, as we've seen, because cops have gone uncharged and unconvicted. But I understand the sentiment. Like, at least yell, at least ask for other people passing by to help.
Anything.
And like, you record, I'm gonna intervene, or like somebody, you know, help. But from a legal standpoint, I would say the video can help.
Right. I agree as well.
I'm conflicted on that because I mean, yeah, but I don't have the stats. You know how I like my stats, and I didn't have time looking at stuff. But I don't know. Has unjustified killings gone down since body cams came into effect?
Of course. And that's why I said it may be helpful. I didn't say that they always are. And like I said, there's been murders. Cops have murdered people on camera, and they've gone
and still get away. I mean,
But
look at Tamir Rice.
But I hear you on that, Matt. I think my point on the body cams, though, is it may stop some bad actors from taking those actions, whereas before they would have known that they could have gotten away with it. Even just knowing that they've got a body camera on makes them a little bit more fearful.
How many times have we screamed for them to release
body
cam
cam
footage?
and then it's
I don't
miraculously
remember ever
disappeared?
I've never seen a body.
I mean, look
respectfully, while you say it does increase, I can't see. I can't see.
Yeah, no,
how.
like everything's blacked out. You know, you can't really see
Listen,
what's going on. All the
first of
audio
all,
cut out.
That's what I'm saying. You can't filter. When you're asking for the video, what you're asking for is the raw evidence. And what the police are the middlemen. The police are going to cut your product before they give it to you.
Well, that's what India was talking about, too, is that, you know, that when it comes down to it, the system's going to protect itself.
Right.
And you don't even get an opportunity to see the real footage until a year after everything's passed
So,
and the trial's done.
They'll take the charge for the
let me
busted
say
body
this.
cam.
So if you wanted to go the body cam route, do that, but feed that footage over to a different department.
Absolutely.
Right.
Feed that footage over to a government bureau.
No, you feed it over to a citizens review
Make it
board,
public access.
a public service.
Well, this goes back to what I was about to say. Is that what I originally wanted to say to you, Mike, is that this whole thing, this third-degree murder charge that he's about to get dropped on, is bullshit. Like, okay, so I mean, there is a little bit of justice going on, and that feels a little bit good. But the reality of it is, even if he does get convicted on it, he's going to go down for 5 years. He's going to be out before most people that get popped for fucking possession of cocaine.
Right.
This is a joke.
I don't want to derail, but a thought just came back to me. I can't remember what she said, India. Yell, scream, do whatever. And I said, I would draw. If you're gonna kill that man, I would draw my weapon. The most important, the moral of that statement is, you can't judge someone else's reaction.
True.
You may kill his brother. He may want to pray about it. You may kill my brother, and I may want to kill about it.
Right.
So you can't judge someone when they burn a police station down or tear up a business. Listen, when I see that happening, I see all these people saying, oh, these thugs and these people tearing up the street. Listen, but I bet it got your attention, didn't it?
You've tried the quiet protest.
Let me explain. Let me explain, because there was always Martin Luther King, right? Where's he now?
Assassinated.
He's in the dirt. And you said it. You answered my next question. How did he get there? He was assassinated. Hey, mind you, what people don't understand, and I saw that, sweetheart. I agree. What people don't understand is he had a younger brother, Alfred Daniel King. He died a year later. Accidental drowning. Now, it's widely believed by a lot of people that there was foul play involved in that. Now, my point is, Martin Luther King peacefully protests. They killed him, killed his momentum.
Well, it's a fact they killed him too, because the FBI, the King family sued the FBI and won.
What you talking about? It's a fact they killed who?
That they killed Martin.
Oh yeah, okay, right. I knew that.
The government killed him.
Right, no justice for that. But beyond that, though.
And we don't teach that part in schools, though. We don't teach that the government.
I'm gonna get there too. But let me finish. What I'm saying is, when they killed Martin, they derailed the momentum of that civil rights movement. But that wasn't enough. You had to come back for that man's younger brother as well. Colin Kaepernick did the same thing.
Right.
He took a knee. Now, he didn't die, but he definitely got fired and blackballed from his career. So people have made it very evident that there's consequences to peacefully protesting as well. So let me explain to you, for people that don't know, if there's consequences regardless, I'm tearing shit the fuck up. I'm tearing it up. I feel like we should burn the whole country down, because it was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of people that still haven't been paid. And hopefully we come together in unity while we build it the fuck back up.
From the ashes.
Well, this goes back to the point that Mike and Cliff, you both were making about, if you're standing on that sidewalk and you're seeing, somebody being choked out, what do you do? And I come back to an old line. I don't know who initially said this, but freedom is won by buckets of blood.
It's the truth.
Like it's really unfortunate.
It's the truth.
It's sad that India, you mentioned this before too. That we don't learn anything from our history. We'll repeat it over and over and over and over again.
I mean, personally, I'm partial to the Boondock Saints. The only thing it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Touche.
Right.
And for white America to continue to allow it to happen, because we know the system won't change until, those in power change it. And,
Did you see Steven Jackson's speech on ESPN today?
No.
Oh my
He
god,
was tight.
that brought
Him
me
and
to
he was
tears.
really tight.
And in this
Yeah.
whole in this whole thing, I haven't felt sad. I felt angry, but that brought me to tears. I was literally tearing up after I heard that.
Was that in New York?
You said
Was that in
what?
New York? Was that in New York?
That press conference?
Yeah.
I don't know the location of it.
Okay.
I don't know the location, but I'm trying to think of who held it because they said who put it together. Well, not who put it, but they said other names involved. I just can't think.
Who it was.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, for those who don't know, Steven Jackson was good friends with George Floyd. They called each other twins. They did ironically look a lot alike, not
Did
to
they?
be related. Like, it's ridiculous how close they did favor to
There's an
not be
off-color
related.
joke there about them all looking like.
Right. Listen, and I appreciate you for going for it too.
I had to. You set it up. I had to
I
take
appreciate
it. Obviously, I don't believe that.
I appreciate it, and I don't feel like you should have to explain. I just appreciate the cut of the tension. But to get back on topic, I wrote down a few quotes from some people, and I apologize if I lean away from the microphone. One being from Chris Rock, and it was it came to mind with what Tyler said, and I don't want to take anything away. Anybody who has listened to past podcasts knows my stance on police. I specifically don't do police in general, to the extent of, if my father was a cop, I would never speak to you. Not even after retirement, we don't speak anymore. That's what you chose. That's fine. So what I'm saying is, Chris Rock says, quote, all those good cops y'all love to bring up when you say not all cops are bad seem to never be around when their comrades are killing innocent people. Now, I also want to say to all the police officers that feel that they're doing something by speaking out on social media, I don't care. 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 Because the bottom line is, you're speaking out against a department that has nothing to do with you. Meanwhile, statistically, we all know the same things go on in yours. But I don't see you getting rid of any of them.
Right.
Now, I have an even bigger issue with black cops. And I'm going to tell you why. Because first and foremost, we all know country alone wasn't designed for you. We know the police force was not as well. Now, most black cops' argument is, I'm going to get in on the inside and make a change from within. That's what most of them say. But I would like to let you know, the first black cop in America was oathed into office March 6th of 1911. You've had more than 109 years and you haven't made any progress. I would imagine you try a different tactic by now. Now, let me add that Samuel Battle, the first black cop that was sworn in March 6th, 1911, reached the rank of lieutenant. So not only have we had black cops in the force, we've had black cops in power for more than 109 years with no progress made. So you can start to see why I have a bit of disdain for a black cop who tells me that they chose to do work from within. Now, this brings me to another quote from Muhammad Ali. Now, this quote was about white people. The only reason why I put it in here was because it fits more for cops in this situation. Now, just to offer a little backstory to the quote, Ali was on a British talk show called The Parkinson Show, and he was discussing how he felt about racism in America, and the host went on to say the infamous, well, not all whites are racist, which led him to make the famous quote, okay, there are many white people, substitute police officers, or keep white people. Either way works. There are many white people who mean right in their hearts and want to do right. If 10,000 snakes were coming down that aisle now, and I had a door that I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that the 1,000 get together and form a shield? Or should I just close the door and stay safe? That sentiment goes on to police officers in general. Why would I even allow you to police me if I can't tell the difference between your so-called good cop and your neck kneeler? Why shouldn't I escalate the situation myself before I even allow you to get the upper hand on me, instead of trust that you're one of those 1,000 snakes instead of the 10,000?
Well, this kind of brings up the good point that we alluded to in the beginning before we started the podcast. Is so what's the solution to our police problem?
Love that question. I love that question.
I mean, it's a deep one, and I don't think anybody knows the answer. I mean, it's a lot of smart people on this little panel here, but
I don't think anyone knows the answer either. But
what'd you say? What were you saying, sweetheart?
India.
I'm sorry.
The solution is to dismantle white supremacy. That's the solution. Now, how we get there, those are the tough questions that we have to ask. And those are the steps that we have to take that seem every single day almost impossible. But the solution is to dismantle white supremacy. That's why all of this is happening. That's a system that's in place that continues to oppress people of color, that continues to allow police departments to kill people of color, that continue to allow police departments to not hold their own accountable, that continue to allow people like Donald Trump to be elected. It's always, we have to dismantle the very fabric on which this country was built. That's what we have to do. But that's why. But because that is so such a huge concept for people to understand, because a lot of white people can't even acknowledge that they benefit from white supremacy. That's step number one.
Well, there's a reason behind that, and that comes down to white privilege. And I don't want to just lump it into white privilege without explaining. See, white privilege is being able to leave important stories out of history books used to educate, as well as not informing your children of the situations that happened before, so that eventually we all can forget, while us black people, if we're fortunate enough, have the opportunity to listen to stories from our grandparents about how mobs of white men attempted to tip a bus full of elementary school students over back in their day. See, the thing is, and that was my grandmother, mind you. That wasn't my grandfather, that was my grandmother. The thing is, every time the conversation is attempted to be had, the infamous, why does race always have to be brought into it, quote is stated. And the answer for you is what I just said. That was my grandmother. There's only one generation separating me and the nigga that had to drink out of a colored water fountain.
Right.
One generation. That, I mean, and let's be honest, that was the person that really raised me. So I come up with the same stories and feelings just because that's the person that I loved. And to know that they carried that hurt to explain that story the way they did, it puts you in a position where you're already feeling a certain kind of way before you ever come in contact. But beyond that, there are so many atrocities that have happened to black people in this. And let me say this, and it's very important that I say this. In preparing for this podcast, I almost put pen to paper. And said, I couldn't imagine being a white ally and having to deal with hearing black people constantly talk and assuming that they're speaking about you. But then I thought, bitch, if you write that shit down knowing that you do that every day at your daughter's school, at your place of employment, in your own neighborhood, let them bathe in that. And I want to say that to say that I love each and every one of you. I love everyone here, and I even love the ones I don't meet. But let's be 100% honest. And I don't know if anyone's gotten deep enough to say this, but you motherfuckers have a bad marketing scheme. I saw a meme today that said America was built on stolen land, talking about the Indians, by people stolen from their land.
All true.
Talking about us.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow it gets switched to where black people are the thieves in the situation. You know what I mean? Don't trust them. They're the thieves. Right?
Right.
Black people are inherently violent.
Well, that's why you're still 3/5 a person, right?
Right. Black people are inherently violent, yet almost all genocides in this world have been carried out by people of your skin color.
Or carried out by Western Europeans.
They
carried
say-
out by mass shootings.
They say, listen, I'm not done. They say build a wall. Get the Mexicans out.
Right.
They're raping people.
Right.
But if you look back at every African American's genealogy, what would you find?
Rape.
European blood.
Yep.
It doesn't end. It doesn't
No.
end. Yet we're the ones that have to deal with the situation on a regular basis, while other people say, I don't understand why you can't just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, I'll tell you what I want to do with those bootstraps.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what demons I'm fighting right now to stop me from using these bootstraps.
Right.
Yep.
But
And
once
I think-
again, I want to preface that. I want to say that by letting you know, even after all that, I don't see how someone could trust someone else going through that.
Yeah.
Yet we do. And we still continue. And you are a brother of mine. Way beyond a friend. I want you to understand that. But there are things that we have to understand as well. These being one of them. These are the conversations that don't get said. These are the pain. This is the pain that people carry around with them on a daily basis. That they just smile and say, I'm fine.
Yeah. No
But
doubt.
since we're having the conversation, and I feel comfortable enough with everyone here to share this perspective, I would like to be as real as possible, because most times we compartmentalize and we have certain conversations with certain people and we leave certain specifics out with others. But I want to be extremely honest with everyone here in hopes that we do make some sort of headway towards a solution.
A solution. Agreed.
I think
Definitely.
you nail on the head that the preliminary step is to have the conversation and to have and to kind of put a nail in the coffin on white fragility. We don't have any
Absolutely.
more time to protect y'all. We don't have more. We cannot keep sidestepping y'all's tears and y'all's y'all's sensitivity
I agree.
for the fact that you have a history of violence and oppression and you benefit from that to this day. I don't have time to sidestep y'all anymore.
It's not even about me not having time. My kids don't have listen, let me tell you something. If I'm still here, if I am still walking this earth and my daughter is my age preaching the same thing on her podcast, then I have fucking failed.
Her hologram show. Her VR
Regardless
experience.
of how they present it. I have failed. I have failed. I have failed. I have failed.
It's not that you failed, dude.
No,
it's that
I
the
have
system
failed.
has failed.
It's not about the system. It's about what change can you make. See, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Everybody's expecting people to come together. And what I will say is I appreciate all the races that did, whether they were burning shit down or they were peacefully protesting. I do appreciate that. I did enjoy seeing all the different colors come together and be one.
To burn shit down.
I appreciate, even if
Right.
I appreciated that too. I'm gonna be 100. I appreciated it. But what I will say is, it's not about everyone. It's not about everyone coming together. If we're gonna wait for everyone to get on the same page, we'll
We'll never get there. Agreed.
It's about you specifically.
Yeah.
And when I say I have failed, because if I don't do something to at least ignite that spark of change, to at least get something put in momentum to say, well, the arrows pointed in that direction,
Right.
I failed.
I hear you. And Tyler, I'm not sure if you want to jump in. It sounds like you were trying to jump in once or twice. I want to give you a chance before I kind of say my piece on it as well.
So I was just going to agree with India. I think the part about education there is where it has to start. We have to be truthful about where this country came from, how it was built, and the manner in which it was built. The information is out there, and the students today are smart enough to know how to research that and find out the truth. So if we're giving them one narrative and a place in an institution where they tell them, hey, we're setting you up for success, but we're not telling them the truth, that's a problem, big problem. Because as soon as they find out the truth,
Fools agree,
then
sir.
we've got it. Yeah, then we've got a real issue, right? That they feel like they've been lied to their entire life. That's not the generation of people that's going to make change. We've got to be honest about how things got the way that they are,
Right.
what happened in the past, and then what can we do to make that better going forward, right? Until we admit the truth about the past, we'll never make any progress.
Right.
Amen, amen.
One thing I want to touch on, like as far as we're talking about progress and stuff, and I think like Tyler, you could probably speak from experience more than anybody. But from what I've seen, you know, with Destin being killed, one of the things, and I think what was the chief of police at the time? Her name was Kimberly Jacobs. I think she just like recently resigned. When they gave a statement about Destin in 2012, and it was like really bothersome that this is like how candidly she just dropped it, and she was like, you know, well, we do annual training. Tyler, how often do you train in the military? And just the military, not even military police, just the military. You train once a year. Once a year.
100%, we train daily.
Right. So you can't tell me that we can put people on the street, give them a lethal weapon with training once a year.
Right.
That doesn't even make sense. Outside of that, you know, we can also go back to once again with your military background. What are the laws when you have to engage somebody in combat? You can't just pop somebody.
Nope.
You have laws. If you go out there and just start capping people, you will go to military prison. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
So and you're in a known combat situation. So how is it that the police officers can go in a situation with civilians and just pop off?
Agreed.
Because your pussy ass is scared.
If you're scared, go to church. If this wasn't what you wanted, go. They have the fire department. You can go be an EMT. You did not have to be a police officer.
Right. Go be a teacher. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like,
and I think you hit the nail on the head there, Derek.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, Reggie. Let me hop in there.
Yeah, go for it, T.
You hit the nail on the head. So we talked about education in the public school system.
I need to talk to you.
Yeah, we talked about education in the public school system, so we could talk about the education with the police force as well, right? Keep in mind, those are civil service positions. You have to be a high school graduate to apply to be a police officer. So the qualifications aren't very high. You have to pass a physical, you take an exam. Once you take that exam, they determine how many people they need to hire, and they take a certain percentile at the top of that. So the screening process and the qualifications to become a police officer are very little. The loophole that law enforcement uses, and you can call it a loophole if you want, but the term that they use is called objective reasonableness. What that is that's a law enforcement's essentially pass to make very tough decisions in a small amount of time and then be held accountable for that based on their threat perceived. So essentially what we use in a law enforcement training scenario is called a use of force model. As someone increases that model, as they climb, you're supposed to meet that level of force with a specific level of force, but not more than is required to establish the task at hand. Like I mentioned, they had him in cuffs already. That's a use of force. You have control of that suspect. There's no other need to be controlling him in that manner at all. Completely wrong. The law enforcement academy I went through in 2003, we were not taught that. I'd hate to believe that they are taught that today, but I also read an article on Facebook where they said that the Minnesota Police Department didn't necessarily say that wasn't bad technique. How? I don't know. And I can't stand truthful to the article. It was a Facebook article, but I saw that and I thought, how is that possible? I mean, it's crazy. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry, you're on mute too, bud.
Yeah, I unmuted you, Matt, but you remuted yourself, so you're on mute still. There we go.
Okay. Sorry about
There
that.
you go. I saw you talking. Didn't hear
Wife
you.
came home and opened the garage door. I didn't want to interrupt the
I got you.
conversation.
We saw it.
You're a gentleman and a scholar, sir.
I had a question about that because I heard Michael Wood talking about that earlier, and training that goes into police forces. So are you familiar with like everyday police forces or just military police forces?
So in the Air Force, military police is kind of a unique situation. We go through a law enforcement academy. That's 2.5 months of just strictly law enforcement work, where similar to what you would experience at like a Columbus Police Department situation, slightly different in the mechanisms, the paperwork and things like that, but the techniques, everything like that, they're standard law enforcement practices.
Because his critique
that everyone knows, right? There's not a whole lot of ways to put handcuffs on someone. They're to teach that kind of uniformly. But as far after that, I went to ground combat school, which was significantly different than law enforcement training, but I performed law enforcement duties on bases regularly for the majority of my military time.
Well, his critique, being in the police force anyway, was that, in Baltimore, was that they don't have very strenuous, like you were saying, it's not a very strenuous test. In fact, firearm training is once a year.
Yeah. No, see, we would, every weapon that we would have, you had to qualify every 6 months. And this is where civilian police departments are lacking big time. Their hand-to-hand combat training, their reliance on a firearm over manual restraint techniques. And in this situation, you've got 3 on 4 on 1. It's not necessary. It's not
Go ahead,
necessary.
India.
It's an overuse of force. Go ahead.
I mean, I think in addition to, the physical training, combat training, cops have to be trained in unconscious biases. Like, we all have them as people. They may be against people they may be based in gender, religion, etc., but we all have them. And so that has to be an additional training, because at the end of the day, you can train somebody in combat techniques, but if they're unconscious, if their bias is to shoot the black person over the white person, they're still going to
do it. And I think on top of that, that's where you start getting into the training aspects around de-escalation tactics. Like military, I've had this conversation in the past with folks that were ex-military. Military folks are taught in terms of escalation protocols, right? Like, it's not immediately shoot. It is you issue a verbal warning, then you issue a sterner warning, and then you pop off a shot as a warning shot. Then you aim for a non-kill shot. Cops are taught to kill when they pull that trigger.
Dude, there was a show on Netflix, India I watched,
called 100 Humans.
We binged on. It was called 100 Humans, and they did a bunch of experiments. And one of the experiments was like what she talked about, the unconscious biases that we all carry. And what was it like? The majority of people, even they gave everybody a gun. Even the black people, they were prone to shoot another black person. And that was the first go-to thing was right away unconsciously.
Right.
They had
totally.
They had two people coming out of like from behind like dumpsters. Like one was white, one was black. One could have been holding a gun, one could have been holding a cell phone, but they switched it all up.
And even the
Well,
black one they
disproportionately,
knew.
the black
Right.
person, regardless of what they were holding, was shot. So what I'm saying is, even if cops are taught escalation techniques or de-escalation techniques, then the if they're not taught to recognize and reevaluate their unconscious biases, they're still going to shoot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
because they've that's so ingrained.
Agreed.
This brings up
Ingrained.
I'm
This
sorry.
brings up a fantastic point that I've been rolling around with for a long time now. Is so you don't want a rookie cop because they're just green. They just don't know anything. They're shaky. You know, they haven't seen enough. You know, and they're too itchy on the trigger. But you also don't want a senior cop that's got so much bias and bullshit, you know, from years on the force and has seen too much that they have all these, predisposed, ideas about, particular, races, or people,
Yeah.
So Matt, to add to that, you're absolutely correct. My cousin was shot by a 17-year veteran. So
Right.
there you go, right there.
Right.
Yeah. And India, one thing I wanted to mention is exactly what you were talking about, is getting rid of that bias, and the importance behind that, and the mechanism I think to focus on there is when I mentioned the use of force model, right? So as a law enforcement officer, you're expected to use the minimal amount of force necessary to complete a task. And if you're walking into a situation where you have that racial bias and your use of force is up here and the person is not meeting that, you're already out of regulation,
Out of
so to
protocol.
say. As a police officer, you're increasing and heightening the kind of situation and the vibe around that because of your built-in bias to the situation. So from the get-go, it can start at the very lowest level, right? Just from the terms of, hey, what are you doing? That conversation and that initiation of that conversation may not need to have even happened, but it may have happened because that could have been someone of color. And
Right.
that creates a situation where there was nothing.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And to bring the conversation full circle, there goes trouble.
Right.
That stems from
Totally. Yeah.
the rhetoric that and the unconscious biases that a lot of people have, that black people are thugs and they're up to no good and they're going to cause trouble and they need to be over policed, and they can't be doing anything productive because they're black.
Agreed.
What do you
So
like?
at this point, I'm gonna start to move on the conversation. I think we've had a good dialogue here. I'm gonna give everybody just a couple minutes each to kind of say your piece.
Right. The result.
And then what I want to do is I'm gonna put us on just a quick 2-minute break. Give Cliff and I a chance to go to the bathroom. And when we bring it back, we're going to be back to the usual Do Fools Agree. We're going to try to lighten the mood a little bit. I think we're going to talk a little bit. But so kind of kicking off our wrap up here, in my mind, there are 4 or 5 things that, we were looking for solutions. And I'm not saying any of these are easy to implement. They're just kind of those tactical things that I think are necessary. But I think, one, we already hit on it. That's what the last conversation has been about. We've got to have better training for our police forces. There needs to be more about community policing. There needs to be more about de-escalation protocols. There needs to be more about unconscious biases.
There needs to be different.
There, I'm getting that. That'll be another point. Let me finish. Let me finish. So first is training, okay, and that can be use of force and when it's necessary, those kind of things, and fine. 2, citizen review boards. All body cams, all dashboard cams, all of that should be automatically uploaded to the cloud and be reviewable by fucking anybody. Fucking anybody. It should be a public fucking service. And yes, there should be an elected board of officials, and maybe not even elected board of officials. Maybe it's volunteers that go in and look at police video and dashboard and body cams and that kind of
I
stuff.
don't know about the volunteer bit.
Well,
like jury duty. Like jury duty.
Exactly. They do it exactly the same. That's a great point, Derek. Do it the same way you do jury duty. Next up, I think that we need to do a better job of education. Better job with educating our kids. I think we need to teach, these types of topics in schools. We can't be afraid to have these kind of conversations in schools. That's something that I'm very proud that my wife has been doing as part of the Bexley school system, being within I don't remember what it's called, but their diversity committee, about getting stories, books around black folks in the classrooms. And I think there's a couple of ones that I've seen a couple of other people post that I wanted to call out, but read your kids' books by like What Lane by Tori Maldonado, and Stamped Racism, Anti-Racism and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. Also read them books like The Undefeated by Kwame Alexander. Read books for yourself and talk. White folks, you want to know what you can do? Talk to your kids about this stuff. Help them see that they are privileged. Help them see that they have it over their friends and those kind of things. Because guess what? They know what's right and what's wrong. And if you can get to them early enough and help them see that early enough, they're going to do what they need to do in order to stand up for, their friends of color, that kind of stuff. So in my mind, those 3 or 4 key points, those are my big points around what do we need to do to move forward. And the last thing, Cliff and I will dispute this one later. Get out and vote. Vote for folks that have a black agenda. Vote for folks, especially local elections.
I agree.
Local elections that say they want to hold police officers accountable.
I agree, local.
And, you and I can have our ongoing debate around the national side of things, but local especially. So with all of that, I'd like to go ahead and I'm going to hand it off to, we'll go Tyler, then we'll go Matt, then we'll go Derek and India to kind of close us out, and then it'll go to Cliff to just give us our wrap up before we go on break. So, Tyler, why don't you go ahead?
Yep. So I posted something on Facebook earlier that I just wanted to read, and I'll show the picture if I can get it on the camera here. But it just says, it's been a difficult week to see the events that have unfolded. My time spent coaching in the inner city taught me a lot. I've traveled the world and seen some shitty things, but what these young men experience on a daily basis is difficult. My son latched onto these young men, and I watched them take care of him as if they were his own. They were better men when he was around, and so am I. We hear you, brothers and sisters, and we are with you. And that's a picture of my son at Linden.
Oh, yeah.
In the huddle there with all the boys, taking in a nice lesson from a visiting coach that was trying to speak to our young men and women about being better people. Just trying to do better.
That's what's up.
Damn, I didn't have anything prepared.
You got it, Matt. You're good on your feet.
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot of important topics here. I don't know if we, are ever going to come to the answers to a lot of them. And maybe not in our lifetimes. Changes happen slowly, unfortunately. I disagree with Cliff on one point. And
you should a lot of times. I will let you know that. That's not a joke.
I mean, I heard you say it several times. Change, nothing's changed in 109 years, and I tend to disagree with that. Things have changed, and maybe not enough change. Definitely not enough change, but things have changed, and you don't turn the world around, just by snapping your fingers. But I think we're moving in the right direction. It's just going too slow. That's my 2 cents.
All right, Derek.
Yeah. So closing. My 2 cents would really just be the challenge where we live at, City of Columbus. Just to continue to touch on my cousin's death. It was zero turn up for my cousin. And I mean, I tried, dude. I went to news outlets, which, sidebar, 10 TV News, trash. They definitely censored everything I had to say that was worthwhile.
I'm sure.
Piece that they did with me, and they did their part to cover up and change the story and narrative for the police department. So everything in the media is not what you think. But my challenge would just be to Columbus, start the process and getting things together for our city. Yes, we're getting justice starting in the process of getting justice for George Floyd, but there are countless names. My cousin's not the first.
No.
He's not the last.
Right.
And what we protested here, it did something in another state, but it hasn't changed anything here. So we have to let our voices be heard about stuff that happens. here in order to change it. So it goes back to, what Cliff said, it starts with you. So, if you want to change the world, you got to start with you. And that's what we're trying to do. So, right? So that's my piece.
India.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just echo most everyone's sentiments. I think we all have to take an individual responsibility to make an impact. I agree with Cliff on that point. I mean, a collective effort is always going to be is always going to be stronger, but we each have individual responsibility in this. Black people, white people, anybody else, you have to acknowledge what privileges you do have, how you benefit from those, and how those privileges in turn oppress others, and how you can start to dismantle that in your own community and in your own life. And I will just say, like, you know, for protesters, like, we have a right to protest. It's called the First Amendment, and you have a right to videotape cops. You have a right to take pictures of them. You have a right to be on the public street. And if any cop tells you otherwise, you have a First Amendment right to be there and to say what you have to say. So, you know, be safe out there, and just take responsibility.
And I think there is a major one planned for like 10 a.m. tomorrow down by the State House.
What?
Protest.
Oh, really? I just wanted to ask. I don't know if you're, versed on this, but I just saw that Chicago passed a federal law that if you record,
well, it can't be a federal. It can't be Chicago.
Well, whatever,
a local or state
right, law that if you film a police officer without their consent, it's a federal crime. It said federal in the shit. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Well, there are wiretapping laws that may constrain your ability to record audio without the other person's consent, but that's
without seeing a camera, though, right? That's like me calling you and not letting you know this is being recorded.
Well, the wiretapping laws are fuzzy, and that's a state-by-state issue. Some states do require two-party consent. It's not just if I don't see you and I'm recording you. It could be I'm videotaping you and also getting audio. Like that could, depending on the state, that could be illegal unless you have the other party's consent. I don't know about the new Chicago law. I'd have to look into that. But in terms of visual,
Ohio's a one-party consent, right?
Recording. I believe so. I'd have to double check that. I don't know that off the top of my head. Visual recording is not against the law.
Okay.
So we just gotta make sure the sound is off, depending on what stage. Like, come on now, draw down. That's how I feel. Draw down. Fuck the camera. If I'm pulling something out, it's gonna be a pistol. Don't kill that man. I'm not recording you. Don't kill that man.
Yeah,
it won't be a camera.
Ohio's a one-party consent state.
Fuck that consent bullshit. Listen, and I've shared this piece as well. I don't follow any law. It's just the fact that my morality lines up with laws. We're all in that boat. But as far as the law, once again, never made for me, never made with me in mind. Don't care about it. Don't care about your law. I operate off of my specific and sole morality, and if that so happens to align with your laws, then we're all good. But if not, I don't give a fuck. But I'm not going to just follow a law because you wrote it on paper and expect it. No, we're not doing that here. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to end the show with a post.
Wait, I want to call out. We're not ending the show.
Oh, no.
End the segment, because we still got to give Tyler a chance to talk about, right.
We got to drink and be merry. I'm sorry. We do have to drink and be merry.
Oh, the last
I still have yet to prove LeBron James is better than Jordan.
and I want that, sir. So I just want to say, when all this was going on and the riots in Columbus and all that, I was going through my Facebook and I saw a post. I'm not going to read any names, but I am going to read the post, and I'm going to read a couple of the comments. Just because, and this isn't anything bad or anything that I would imagine if, hopefully they are listening, but if not, this isn't anything that I would imagine they would be upset with. But it was a comment by someone that I went to school with. Black, of course, said, logging off, this world is trash. So when they said that, of course, I know what you mean. I saw the comments, clicked on them, right? One of the comments was, now so and so. The world can be bad and it can be good. Look for light and bring it closer. Push away the darkness. Only you control what you allow in your heart, and you have a beautiful heart. Don't let anyone change that. So the person responded. So I'm not going to tell you what my initial reaction was when I read that comment, but for everyone here, I'm sure you can assume what my initial reaction was. So he responds with, I know you're not outraged. I get it. She responds back with this. By what, honey? I'm not in your loop. Just a general statement. Right? So he says, Black, once again, let me reiterate. I know, Auntie. I love you, though. She then responds back, love you, honey. You know if you ever need me, I'm here. Now, without being disrespectful, I want you to understand that you're not. You're not there. You're not there. That man was reaching out right then and there.
Yeah.
And you didn't see it for what it was.
Right.
And even if you did see it for what it was, you tiptoed around the subject. Tiptoeing's over, baby. We're stomping now.
Right.
So if you see that my man is hurt, regardless of who you are, and my assumption was she was white, which she was, which I knew from the comment, but there's no tiptoe. Either you don't understand because you choose not to, or you don't understand because you choose not to see. But don't say I'm here if you're not here. So when I saw that, it kind of made me feel a certain kind of way, and I logged off and felt like this world is trash. That's all I have to say with my end.
So on that note, we're going to take a quick 2-3 minute break. Anybody that wants to stick around, we're going to have round 2 of the Last Dance conversation from last week. We specifically wanted to get our Cleveland boy, Matt, in on the conversation, and Tyler. Derek, India, if you guys want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. If you want to hop off, I understand. We're also going to touch on, Matt and I are going to touch on Dune. I don't know anybody else is going to talk about it.
I got a couple insights.
And then we've got a couple of inadvertent thoughts that we're going to come back to. So we're going to take a quick 5, and then we'll see you back here in about 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Cool.
I'll see y'all, man.
All right, love y'all. Appreciate y'all being here.
Thank y'all.
Yeah,
Had a great time, guys. Thanks for the conversation.
Yes, for sure. Thanks for coming.
Bye. My guy, Coach.
You know I'm going in on you with this.
I knew he was. That's why I wanted you last week, bro. I'm telling you. I said I need him last week because I had somebody else that felt the same way. So I was like, I want to bully you on me. I want to. to choose not to. We all knew LeBron was going to win the dunk contest. LeBron knew
Right.
LeBron would have won the dunk contest. Why didn't you do it though?
I think there was just I don't need to prove this. I already done it.
Why?
You know. So.
But if you're competing to be the GOAT, you have to do this. And the fact that you didn't, you chose to forfeit that specific position.
One word.
That
one word. Humility.
Nah, stop.
What, you talking about LeBron humility?
Yeah, stop it. Now, I'm not saying that he isn't humble. I'm not saying that. But not in that regard. He wasn't saying, I don't want... You saying he's Barry Sanders? I don't want to beat Walter Payton's record, so I'm going to retire early. I'm not going to join the dunk contest because
seriously, I mean, you've seen the egos of how many people in professional athletics. That guy maintained a pretty even keel throughout his entire come-up.
LeBron, I agree.
Okay.
Well, see,
I give him a hats off for that.
And honestly, Cliff, I think that proves your point, though,
what?
Because your whole point was history will look more favorably back on LeBron,
right? And
I completely agree with you that history will look more favorably upon LeBron because one, never had any issues, and everybody's gonna have their issues at some point. Jordan has his
killed.
With gambling.
Never knew his dad, so he didn't get opportunity to get his dad
right.
killed.
But I do hear your point on that, and I think that's why, on a personal level, I'm more supportive of LeBron than I was of Jordan. Jordan kind of lived like a rock star. He did,
right?
And it wasn't quite as bad as rappers of the day and everything. But LeBron has lived a quiet life for being as much of a public figure as he has been since 18. And yes, I think he got some bad advice around the decision and how he needed to make like a media spectacle around it. And you see he didn't do that as he got older. Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
I agree with the point that history will look more favorably upon him. I just think MJ changed the game more than LeBron did.
Seriously, nobody had a shoe named
LeBron
after
was a benefactor.
I don't think that Jordan changed the game over LeBron.
Yeah, he totally did.
I don't.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Come on.
Listen, let me say one thing. Let me ask you one thing. Out of all positions, now I know we discussed it last week. 9-time first team all defense. How many positions on the floor can he guard?
Who, Jordan?
Correct. He's not guarding a center.
All of them.
He's not guarding a center.
He was like an 8 or 9-time all defensive
player. He's not guarding
player.
a center, and he's not guarding a center. Not back then or now.
Depend on what center. I don't think he's going to, but I think back then the traditional 5 spot was a little bit more established.
And it was rougher as well.
You got guys running at a 5 position today that just play outside of the arc.
Right.
And they don't
No,
go
you're
in
right. I can give you that.
So
true.
It's changed in that manner. Do I think LeBron would be guarding Shaq? No.
But
I don't think.
No, but I mean,
happen.
Shaq is also an anomaly.
Jordan
Let's
wouldn't
be
do
honest.
that either. So
Shaq's an anomaly.
But I think LeBron's more versatile on defense. I agree with that.
Even
Here's my
thing
thing
he's
in
the
Jordan
9-time. See, this is what I was trying to
thing.
get I was trying to get at this last week. And this is another thing that I didn't I didn't get into last week. Back in the day, defense was an incentive. If somebody drove down the lane and dunked on me, then I knew next time down I could throw a bow and clean knock this man out. And there's a chance they may not call that foul.
Yeah.
Now, there is none of that. There's none of that. There's none of that. You could get a man back for making you look stupid on defense. If you blow a man's ear, Lance Stevenson, you might get a technical foul.
If you blow his ear.
So we're in two different.
That's not where you blow something, Cliff.
Right. Clearly, you don't know Lance Stevenson. But we're in two different eras when it comes to D, to the point that it's like, well, Jordan got 9-time all defense. Well, do you think if LeBron could play that level of I think if LeBron could play that level of defense, he would be known as a defender more so than an offense.
You think?
I'm bullying everyone. Anyone come down, I'm bullying.
You know what? I have...
Hold on.
Up. Wait a minute, sir.
One. Real quick.
Remember your thought.
All right. Can you hear us now? Hold on one sec. We got a clip. We got some clipping on the audio. It's my fault because I was fucking around with the computer. All right, try it now.
Now he's just muted.
There you go.
All right, sorry about that.
Okay, what were you saying?
Okay. I have the tiebreaker right now, and it would require a big sacrifice on LeBron James' part.
Uh-huh.
He needs to go play baseball right now.
That's a pretty that's an egg.
Cheers.
Yeah. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Listen.
That motherfucker cracks it out of the park.
Oh, I bet he would, but his strike zone is also a little bigger than Jordan's too.
That's true.
Touche.
So I don't know if he has the. Well, I don't know because his focus, which is another thing that I kind of wanted to rebut on you last time because you said Jordan is in the moment. Listen, LeBron James can recount the very minute he was in a specific situation. He's in those press conferences.
But that means he's busy.
Passed the ball. I jumped the lane. I missed it on that pass. He came back down. I got the block, but then saw that JR was open in the wing. I passed it to him. He didn't hit the shot. Knew that he would be open down the line. That's how we got the game winning.
I would say that means he's not in the moment because he's spending time to commit that to memory. I would actually argue that if you're in the moment, you may not remember it.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know.
He does on Sundays.
I don't know because some things are like Equalizer. Some things are like Boondock Saints where the guy plays the classical music and you don't know what he's doing, but he's doing it as he's... And you're like, well, what's going on here?
Right.
And you're like, well, no, that's how he operates.
I like that reference, by the way.
You know what I mean?
Willem Dafoe, well done.
It's not, listen, it's not that he's in his head, that he was just a being created to understand.
Think back to, what was it, his comment or his mom's comment? He slept with a basketball in high school.
Right.
You know, like he lived, breathed, and died basketball.
Okay.
Like it owned his life. Did Jordan do that?
I mean, that's what his mom would say about between high school and college,
right,
or between his sophomore year and junior year of high school, or whatever it was.
We know he didn't do that initially, but I
would argue that Jordan was more dedicated to his game than LeBron is to his.
No, I would definitely say that.
I would agree.
Say that.
LeBron's got a lot of other shit going on.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that.
That's really about it.
When he was 18, 19, 20, that was all he had.
But the point that Aaron made last week was that LeBron's never been denied. He's never been...
LeBron's been anointed since the time he came into the league.
Jordan didn't make his high school varsity team. So that already put a chip on his shoulder. I got to get better. Not only do I have to get better, I have to shit on everyone.
Right.
And that's what ended up happening. He worked hard enough to be able to shit on everyone. LeBron has just accomplished what he's accomplished solely based on his skill, his gift.
Well, and that's
Not
actually...
saying that he doesn't work hard either.
That's actually the second argument I would make. That's the second argument I would make, is that LeBron has more natural gift than Jordan had.
Seriously. Like, he was built to be an athlete.
Wait. That's here nor there. Because we compare all-time greats with all-time greats. We were talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I want to see Jordan play football. I want to see Jordan, like, seriously, step up and be a wide receiver and take a hit.
Listen, this is all
like a real.
I mean, you've got footage of LeBron grabbing a ball in like the state playoffs, going up for a jump ball.
This is all I will say.
He's got his notes out. We're in trouble.
No, it's only a little bit here. Because I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm not going to repeat myself.
The Cliff Notes.
The Cliff Notes.
Right. I wish I had a fucking drum and cymbal. You sons of bitches.
Well done, Tyler.
Listen. So, I'm going to say the same thing that I did say last week is my number one issue is ring talk. I hate it. I hate when people talk rings when they talk Jordan.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Because you had the super team of super teams.
Right.
And there's no denying that. And to go into it, this is why I say. So, everybody says LeBron left Cleveland to create a super team. Now, mind you, that super team consisted of a big three. That big three consisted of LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the conclusion we came to last week is that Scottie Pippen shits Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh and Tony Kukoc, coach, are the exact same player.
Yeah.
So, does that mean Jordan then had a big four?
But Jordan didn't leave.
Wait,
they built the team around him in his town.
It doesn't matter though. Wait, does that mean Jordan had a big four? Wait a minute, sir. I'm still moving.
I agree with your point.
I'm still moving though. Does that mean Jordan had a big four with Kukoc, Rodman, Pippen, and Jordan? And then my next question would be, who was more of a factor? Who would you rather have on your team, Ron Harper or Tony Kukoc? I'm going Ron Harper. So does then that mean Jordan had a big five? So then let me ask you this. Let me stop. Because I'm not done yet,
Because he lost his headset.
Because I'm not done yet, sir. I'm still moving. So then my next question comes to the bench. On the bench, Jordan had Luke Longley, Tony Kukoc, Ben Winnington. Now, LeBron had Mike Miller, James Jones, Udonis Haslem. Out of those three, who would you say were the best? I'd go with Jordan's once again. Yeah. Other than Udonis Haslem. I may take Udonis Haslem over a Luke Longley. That's a stretch, but I'm trying to give Jordan people something.
Right.
But you have nothing, because at this point, Jordan's 96 Bulls team shit every super team that's ever been created other than one, which is what? The one LeBron beat. The 73-9.
Okay, so here's
2016 Golden State Warriors.
My counter to that is look at what LeBron was able to do without the superstar lineup.
I mean, regardless, I feel like that there is enough for me. That there, right there, what I just said, that right there is enough for me to be like, that is why history will favor LeBron more than Jordan.
I hear you.
Now, while I know the truth, because I, as a young man, got to see that actual in action Killer Instinct, not just from highlights and seeing the whole game in motion, I know what I saw, but...
No, it was a work of art. It was beautiful.
Seeing what's going on now, I don't see Jordan being
as a team, you are not wrong, sir.
That's all I had to say. I didn't want to continue on the same argument I did last week, but let me redefine it in a way that could be simple and more digestible.
Yeah.
He had a big five. He had he had bench players.
Again, as a team, there is no question. The Bulls had it.
And the best coach in the history of the NBA.
Phil Jackson. Agreed.
But
arguably some of the best college coaches as well.
LeBron James is a standalone all-star carrying a bunch of nobodies. Fucking rocked the shit out of the league.
Yeah.
He's a guaranteed.
I mean, but you can't fault Jordan for being part of an organization that.
No. And that's what I don't want.
That LeBron gets plus points because he didn't
hit. And here's one of my other biggest points here, and this is one that I was sitting when I was watching The Last Dance, and I was just sitting here watching how much drama was built up into these episodes in these games, right? These closeout games where Jordan came in and he said, you know what, fuck you. I'm taking over, and we're going to win this shit. And I'm sitting here watching this, and then I remember he never even played in a Game 7, right?
Right.
There was never even a moment where there wasn't an additional opportunity to win again. He closed it out. Let's be honest, though.
Let's be honest, though. Should you have ever, with that lineup, should you have ever played in a Game 5? Should you have ever played in a Game 5 with that lineup? To be honest, you should have never played in a Game 5. So when Jordan says, I'm only bringing one suit, so what, nigga? That don't mean shit. It's not like you're saying that in Game 1. No, you're saying that.
Look at the level of competition, right? At this level of competition, if you don't make a game 7, that's more impressive than trying to be out in game 5.
Agreed.
My only argument would be that the records, the NBA records, have gotten tighter the later we've gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're even breaking records that
But
were
that's
set back in the day.
But
it's the
that's,
same. It's the generational thing.
Right.
You expect generations.
You expect
to get
humans
better.
to evolve.
Right. So let's not act like they haven't.
Yeah.
Let's not act like they haven't evolved and that Jordan is always stop.
So would you say MJ and LeBron are one generation separated in terms of basketball, or two?
One.
I
wouldn't even say
so
full
I wouldn't
one.
I wouldn't expect that to be that big a difference.
I would say a half of generation in separation. Because LeBron said, even after he watched it, he said, I would have loved to play with Jordan. And listen, there was a chance you could have if Jordan would have been around that long. Now, what LeBron is doing is he's trying to maintain his longevity so he can play with his
Jordan
son.
or against Jordan?
With Jordan. He said he would have loved to have played with Jordan. And what's funny is everybody pegged it as LeBron bowing. I pegged it as LeBron being a dickhead.
Saying that he
said,
could hang, he would actually still be the leader on that team.
What he did was he said, I have a better IQ than Jordan. He said, I see the court. I see the best shot. I get the ball to who needs to take the shot. Jordan likes taking the shot. I can get the ball. So basically what he was saying is, Jordan is my shooter. I'm the godfather.
I mean,
I'll get the ball to
LeBron
Jordan.
James that credit.
You said what? You'll give LeBron James what now?
Uh-oh. Did we lose Matt?
Oh, I hope not.
Tyler, you still got us?
Yep, I'm there.
I'll give LeBron that.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
You're cutting out, Matt.
I still got your audio, but the video is getting all fucked up.
Okay, I think that's on your end though, because we still look good on everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Yeah. No. Becky just turned the baby monitor on, so it might be fucking.
That Wi-Fi consumption, man, is real. That's why you got to get a laptop with an Ethernet cord.
Oh, man, that made my day right there. Oh man, what were you saying though, bro? that was content, right? He said, yeah, Becky.
Problems I never thought I'd have.
Right.
I hear you.
That's funny. That made my day. Yeah, Becky just turned them.
Nah, but I don't even remember what my point was going to be. Fuck.
Well, fuck it.
I was interested.
All right, Tyler, you got anything else to say on this topic? If not, I'm gonna hop into an inadvertent thought.
Go ahead, Reg. Go ahead.
All right, so I've got one, and T, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. So, buddy of mine, guy I coached with at SC, and I'm coaching again with at Whitehall, sent us this article about. And, you know, this has been a debate among football coaches for at least the last decade and a half, because I remember hearing these arguments. But they've just finished research that says hands on your knees and bent over is better than hands above your head. And my inadvertent, in terms of recovery during anaerobic exercise.
Recovery.
And in terms of my inadvertent thought is attached to that because, and you know, this may not be politically correct, but didn't the Romans fucking crucify people because when your arms are like this, it constricts your fucking oxygen? And that's how they killed motherfuckers?
Well, see, that's funny that you say that is because I never took it as...
I always took it as a mental thing.
When we put our hands on our knees, we had to run.
Agreed. I always thought it was mental. I didn't think it was actually true that coaches believed that was actually more beneficial to getting airways.
Oh no,
open.
I never equated it like that. I almost equated it to the opposite. That you don't want us to get air. You want us to maintain that
being out of breath and exhaustion,
being able to move. So I felt as if when you put your hands on your knees, you're giving up. What'd you say?
Yeah, no, I was saying our coaches told us separate. They always said you put your hands over your head and your lungs get, you know, the full range of motion and all that. But it's all BS because if you just look at the fact that you feel better faster with your hands on your knees, which is why our human reaction is to do that, that's enough science for me to say we were told a lot
Right?
of bullshit.
Amen. And I get exactly what you're saying, Cliff. And I may still coach to put your hands over
It's
your
like,
head.
listen,
Yeah.
it's like boxing when somebody plops down on the stool as opposed to someone standing in the corner. You're like, that person
You don't
standing
show
has more in
weakness.
the
Right.
the tank.
It's
Not
a mental game.
necessarily,
It's my
right,
game.
not necessarily, but it looks that way.
Like, what was it?
Yeah.
Office linebacker. It's mind
Terry
games. Terry Tate. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So that was
But
one of
that's-
my inadvertent thoughts for the week.
Yeah, that's true. It's the mental component. Don't let them see your weakness.
Right.
Right,
Don't
right.
let them think that you need the air more than they need it. And that's really what it is.
Amen.
That's why you run the stairs.
That's
You
right.
never gas.
Listen, that's another reason
Yeah.
why. I don't know from a white perspective. That's another reason why black kids get their ass whooped by their parents when they cry.
I hear you.
You don't let people.
You don't show
You
weakness.
don't. You see, you don't.
Mm-mm.
You don't let anyone see
Don't
you
let
cry.
'em know
Don't
they
matter if
got
you're
you.
hurt. Listen, that may cause a stigma in the long run.
I don't want to go back to the other topic, but
Nah.
you might be right.
Nah, but I just found that funny. That probably does cause a stigma in the long run.
My other inadvertent thought before I hand it off to the group for anybody else that's got one
I got
was, I've been trying to follow World Star, and I'm surprised you didn't bring it up around the fact that the riots in Minneapolis were started by an ex-cop or a current cop. I'll leave that alone for right now because
It's
we don't
not
want to go back.
important.
We don't want to go back to
I
that.
mean, it is important, but it's
But-
not important.
But I did see something on World Star today that made me think of you and me, my
What?
friend. Jimmy Ivy and Dr. Dre
Start
talking
business
about
together.
talking about
More
why
white and
more black.
people need to start.
Amen. Why more black and white folks need to start businesses together. And I feel like I've been in business with Cliff, whether it was
One
making
way or
money
the
or
other.
not,
One way or
since
the
I
other.
was 11, if not before that.
One
So,
way or the other,
hey,
sir.
fucking men, my man.
Yeah,
Speaking
I
of
agree.
badass documentaries, the one about Dr. Dre with Jimmy Iovine and everybody is fabulous.
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
Defiant
that-
ones. It's
No,
I
phenomenal.
didn't. Is it
It's on.
Yeah.
It's an HBO doc.
for real?
Yeah, it's good.
Yep,
It's
great.
really good.
I'm glad you brought that up. I might
I
have
have
to
not
look
seen
at
that one.
You have?
Have
No,
not-
you gotta watch it. It's
I
great.
haven't.
You haven't? So Matt, we may have to do a watch party when the Rona's over. Unless you have HBO now, then I might need to borrow
Right.
your
Your
password.
password.
Otherwise, I won't be watching it until Rona's over.
I do not. I do have.
He
I
does have his
a
jailbroken
Fire Stick,
shit.
so I can
Right.
get damn near anything.
Listen, I'm not mad at you, sir. I'm not mad at you, sir. Listen, my inadvertent thought, which I know Coach is definitely gonna enjoy. I know you saw Mike Tyson coming back.
What do you mean coming back?
Oh,
Did you see that?
I'm so happy you brought that up.
Listen, so let me tell you something.
Still
So he's been shipping out requests to see who's willing. Right now, what he has agreed to is an exhibition match, which he's going to use as a litmus test to determine whether or not he can actually return back to pro. He says, depending on...
Dude, I saw him sparring in a video, man. He looks fucking dynamite for
Listen,
being 50
I didn't
some
see him
odd years
sparring.
old.
I saw him hitting the mitts and hitting the bag. I never saw him sparring. I would love to see him sparring just to see how quick he is with someone else in there.
Dude,
But what I will say
he's
is
fucking fast.
he's put feelers out to multiple people. I don't know if you've known, one being Tyson Fury,
Oh,
the
geez.
current champion, who's already accepted. He's
Okay.
accepted. Also, Tito
Okay.
Ortiz, the ex. Exactly. My exact
What?
reaction. My exact reaction. And,
Tito.
and for those who are going to be listening from the podcast, Apple, Spotify, I'm pointing at Mike because that was my exact reaction. Because, not because Tito's not a banger.
He is.
He is a banger.
But he's
you're
about
not
a
boxer,
decade out.
and you're not a boxer, number
Right.
one. Number two, you
He's been
have...
retired for like 10, 15
Stop it.
years.
Well, no, he just had a fight a year and a half ago with Chuck Liddell.
No way.
Well,
knocked
if
Chuck
Tito
Liddell
didn't
out.
put gloves on, it's the same thing.
knocked
as,
Chuck
like,
Liddell
Conor
out
put
about a
gloves
year and a
on
half
for
ago.
Not in the
Floyd.
UFC, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No way.
Look it up now.
I will.
He knocked Chuck Liddell out with a
Dude,
minute and
Tito-
30 in the
Tito
first
had
round.
a nice long run, but he's done.
But what I'm saying is this. This is what all you're just thinking about talent.
Tito's
Tito
trash.
Ortiz has multiple fused discs in his neck.
Yeah,
If he fights Mike Tyson,
he doesn't.
he's
wanna
going to
fight
break
Mike.
his fucking neck.
Yeah,
The
And-
last time they fought was in 2006.
No,
Mike's gonna
They
turn
just
his
had a
whole
fight.
goddamn head around.
they just had a fight, Mike.
said it was a year and a half ago.
They just had a fight.
Oh, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Right,
There
stop
was one.
playing with me.
There was one in 2018.
They just had a fight.
They had fought twice before that. The last time before that was in
Listen,
2006.
stop playing with me. Stop playing with me.
Okay.
They should have stayed retired, both
They
of
should
them.
have, but that's the reason why
All right,
both of them
all right.
accepted the fight.
The only
Yeah,
thing
look
that's
that
giving me
shit
pause
up.
here.
What happened? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, we lost Matt.
Only thing.
There he is.
only
There he
thing-
is.
Oh fuck.
You're right.
You're there. You're there. You're there. We got you.
Oh fuck.
All right. The only thing that's giving me pause is I said the same thing about Mike back in like 2010 when he tried to make his comeback and that ended in tears. So
Did he?
yeah, I mean I have my reservations, but at the same time
Where was I in
he
2010?
seems like he's a different man.
Did he make a comeback in 2010?
I don't remember that, but it's possible.
I don't either. I
Nah,
think his
he-
last fight was against
No,
the.
he tried to come back and he.
No, I don't know if.
I
no.
can't remember. It was 2010, 2007. It was something like that. He tried to make a comeback, and it was like, nah.
Let me
you're
see
done.
something, because I think
2005 was Tyson's last
and
fight.
he lost the fight to that Russian dude, or the
Yeah.
white boy.
Irishman, Kevin
yeah, it was a
McBride.
white dude. Yeah, I know you're talking
Yeah.
about. So that's probably what you're. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely white. He was Irish.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no, he's definitely white. No, Irish. Listen,
Well, all-
black
Nah,
Irish
he
folk,
was just.
they're just not full black.
That goes back to our earlier
Right,
discussion.
No, he was slow. He was. Nah, it was not the
but
usual Mike Tyson
what I
that we
will
all
say-
grew up and loved.
What I will say is, especially for fighters like that on the ass end of their career, and especially Mike Tyson, who served time in prison, whether or not he did or did not commit those crimes, he did not commit those crimes. But what I will say is, when you're desperate and you're just fighting for money, it's not like fighting for passion.
True.
And when you
Yeah,
lose
right.
that passion, it's 9 times out of
Nah,
10 you lost
he was
that
trying
fight.
to get himself out of debt.
Now,
Like, in
Tyson
2005,
Fury,
he was trying to get out of debt.
right, and Tyson Fury is the perfect example, because this man, I'm trying to say it without being disrespectful. This man had a depressive disorder, of course, that took him from the sport of boxing, regardless of any drug use or all that has here nor there. He was out of the sport for more than 3 years and exceeded 400 pounds,
Right.
and chose to bring himself back to becoming eventually an undisputed champion. He will become an undisputed champion if he eventually gets to Joshua. I don't see Wilder beating him again. But what I'm saying is he regained that passion. That depression took him out of the game. And when you aren't 100% into a fight sport, don't do it. It can
Right.
cost you your life. And that's what happened to
Thank
Mike when it started with Holyfield. Because when he bit Holyfield's ear,
Oh yeah.
that's when they then mandated that he can no longer stop taking medication before he goes into fights.
Gotcha.
So essentially what you're doing is you're sending
Right.
that man into a fight sedated.
Yeah.
Now, it's not wrong to allow him to get
Well,
off of
I mean,
medication.
to be fair,
It's not wrong to allow
Mike
him to be
Tyson-
off of medication. It's not.
No,
It's
no,
not.
no.
It's not. That's not testosterone. That's
No,
not.
no, no.
It's not a. It's
No,
just
no, no,
because
no, no.
he's an animal. you can't try to down
You
him
had
to make it
sedate Mike Tyson
competition.
at that point.
No,
You
you
had
didn't.
to sedate Mike Tyson
Because
at
he
that
was a
point because he was
monster.
saying, and
But
I
you,
quote,
The
"I'm
date.
on Zoloft, so I don't kill you, motherfucker."
and I understand that, but that's like me saying, listen, that's like you saying, I'll put you in a fight with a lion, but I'm gonna make sure that lion's neck and paws are chained before you enter the ring.
Thank you for bringing up that point.
You
Dude,
can't
he
just.
would roll around with tigers.
All
That's
that-
Mike Tyson.
But what I'm saying, that he's still a human being. Just the fact that none of a human being existed does not give you
No.
a reason to try to
He's
lower
not a human
competition to
He's
make
some
it
sort
level.
of Terminator. He's not from this earth.
I can tell you what he
He's
is.
not from this earth.
I can tell you what he is, and there's a lot more of him that have not been discovered. Let me just.
Does he crab people?
I'm just saying. No, I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying there've been movies, there's been stories, there's been everything for years, and it goes back to. This sounds jokingly, but let's talk about Kevin Bacon in the air up there. When they found out Africans were 7 foot tall with athleticism, they were looking for.
Hey, that's a great movie.
It is. And I'm saying the same with Mike. When they found out that there were project kids that were 215 pounds at 15 years old,
Right.
they wanted to. That's what I'm saying. They've always monetized our culture, our style, our athleticism, and then make us look like.
That's what I'm saying.
And then make us look like what Matt said. Why wouldn't you sedate him? Well, don't sedate him. He's a human being. He's a human being. Don't sedate him. Y'all chose to fight against him. How are you gonna sedate him if you chose to step in the ring with him?
That's true.
I'm still gonna hold Mike.
And then we count those losses, the Irishman losses. And it's like, well, damn, you were fighting a broken seal at that point.
Realm.
An endangered species is what you were fighting at that point. And you gotta win, huh? That's still a win, though.
Dude,
Let me explain
like,
that.
seriously.
To that Irishman, that's still a
my
win.
whole-
A sedated Mike
My
is
whole
still a
argument
win.
with Mike Tyson. My whole argument is I watched this awesome documentary once upon a time about Mike and his rise to being the greatest fighter of all time. And that dude would tear through 5 sparring partners a day.
That's
There's somebody right now that
And
does the
these
same
guys
thing.
were out of he had to get brand new ones every single day because these guys were destroyed for like a month.
There's somebody right now that does
Because
the
you went
same
in against
thing.
a freight train. Nobody could hang in the ring with that dude, man. 16-second knockouts, man. Guys
That's
that
true.
trained for 6 months to get in the ring with him and could only hang in there for fucking 16 seconds.
For those of you that know, I'm looking at Michael saying that there's someone currently that does the same thing because he's of the he's of the opinion that only the heavyweight division matters.
That's true. But this person is obviously not a heavyweight if you're saying that.
Gervonta Tank Davis is 22-0 with 21 knockouts.
That's crazy.
At the 130-pound division. Just moved up to be a 135-pound champion.
What's his shortest knockout?
Listen, sir, I think he has. I'm not gonna lie, but I think he's up there with the most first-round knockouts in a career.
Okay.
Now I can't say like the shortest knockout because
You don't
I mean
know,
that's
but
just somebody that comes to mind off of the conversation. But
I'm saying
they call him
something
they
special.
call him the lightweight Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Okay.
Right
no,
now.
I'll give a lightweight their due.
This is
And
the
you know
same
what?
guy
It's
that they're
apples
wanting
and oranges.
Lomachenko to go against to see who's better.
Gotcha.
The next best person
No,
in
no.
boxing.
I mean, you're talking about that's the whole deal about heavyweights versus lightweights. You're talking about like Conor McGregor and can he hang with a heavyweight?
Right.
You know, even though he's faster and he's a tough motherfucker, if a heavyweight gets one good shot on Connor,
not that easy.
he's done.
It's not that easy. You saw him
You know,
sparring with the mountain.
done.
You saw him sparring with the mountain. It's not that easy to get one good
that
shot
was
on
bullshit.
anybody.
Mountain was holding
Listen,
back.
it's not that easy to get one good shot on anybody.
No.
On
Yeah,
a woman.
but I'm saying
if
that-
one of
there
me and
is
you
that aspect.
if one of me and you ran up on a woman right now, it's not a guarantee we get that clean shot off. I want you to understand that. It's not
That's
that
true, but you know
easy
what? In
to
a
just
matter of 5
land
minutes, I'm gonna
a
get one.
clean shot.
I'm gonna get one.
You're gonna get one, but what I will also say, since we're on the subject, isn't it ironic that all these bitch ass niggas drop after one shot in a street fight, but you see a woman take multiple blows on her feet, like whoa, 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 and never
True.
go down,
True.
like never goes down, like a dog,
But
like an
bitch, you be
absolute
crazy,
monster could be throwing punches at a female, and she's taking blows like a drunk crackhead. Like I'm just not going down today. I think that goes to
Dude,
pregnancy.
I would rather-
like I think they're stronger than us.
I would rather
I
get
think
in the
you're right.
ring.
I do.
I would rather get in the ring with Conor McGregor than Ronda Rousey. You know, like that's just I wouldn't want to fight.
You know
her.
what? That's not a bad. That's not a bad. And we all know Ronda Rousey has no hands. We know that for sure. But that's still not a bad.
I wouldn't mind
She
being
would twist
taken.
you up like a pretzel and just fucking bend
Right.
you.
I would
Listen.
not mind being taken down by Ronda Rousey.
I'm not tapping. I'm not tapping. I'm not tapping. You gonna put me to sleep.
I hope.
You would.
And
You would.
whatever I dreamed
home.
about happened, ma'am. All right. So if I had a sex dream when you put me to sleep, I'm telling everybody.
I don't know what
me
it
and
is
Rhonda
about a
got it.
sleeper hold, but when you wake up in the morning, your anus really hurts.
I'm gonna go down and comment on
That's Chappelle, Mad Real World.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Oh man,
With Tyrone.
that was a good pull,
Man,
right?
He had his girl. What did he say about his girl?
correction.
I did.
Wait,
fuck
wait,
your girl.
wait.
He said you fucked.
You
your shit.
fucked Katie too.
He said-
Correction, I had sex with Katie.
Oh shit! That's
I didn't have
good.
sex with Katie. Correction, I had sex
That's
with Katie.
good. That's good shit, G.
correct.
Look,
Oh
look,
man.
there's just something so much better in a heavyweight fight when you see a guy hit another guy and he's closer to death.
True.
Right? Like he's knocked the fuck out. When you watch
Right.
these 135-pound guys fight, and I sit there and I watch it, and I think, man, if he was fighting me, I'd just grab him and throw him. Like, there's just difference in how watching those people fight and, like, just the speed in which those small guys throw is so impressive. But I just feel like when you hear those heavyweight hands hit
Right,
heavyweight
right.
heads,
Well,
Right.
It's-
I
just is a
agree.
different-
And
It's
that's my
what
point.
Jason said.
Who's
It's
the
what
great
Jason
player?
said. It's what Jason said 2 weeks ago. It's that you feel the ring move when the heavyweights stomp and move around and go for takedowns and that kind of stuff.
Right.
You can feel it.
Dude, no. I want everybody to take a second and go back and watch 1991 Mike Tyson fucking just throw that fucking vicious left hook so fast, so hard, they lifted a 240-pound guy off the fucking mat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man.
I
Dude.
mean, he's an ox. From the time they said he was 13, he was fighting at heavyweight. Like, he was a
Right?
fucking monster.
Oh, you know, Mike Tyson was in the same
Monster.
amateur tournament as Evander Holyfield, who was 4 years older than him when Mike Tyson was 15 years old. So that means he was in there with a 19-year-old Evander Holyfield. That's a Michael Jordan and LeBron James conversation
Right.
there. To be
Yeah.
honest. Because
Hey, speaking of that,
Holyfield's
really-
beating him
really
every time
great
they
fight.
fought.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that
Yeah.
he's the better fighter. You know what I mean?
I hear you. All right.
I saw a
But
really
again,
great meme
no, we'll go back to
where,
Go
What?
back to something we started.
Okay, that's cool.
what
I'm
we
sorry,
talking
I'm in a listen.
Sorry,
I'm
are
in
we
a
trying to wrap up
conversation.
here?
The mother of my child just asked me, "How do you feel about me teaching Karma how to shave?" I said, shave what?
I'm hoping it's her legs.
That's what she said. Me as a man, that's not the first thing that pops into my head.
I don't want to think about my goddaughter
No, stop.
shaving anything but her legs.
Yeah, no, stop. Let me stop that because my mom's never shaved her legs in life, and she has no hair on her legs.
Okay.
Not any hair.
That's
like
because
you
Jeannie
can
is.
rub
That's
her.
because Jeannie is a saint.
Let me stop.
Anyways, talking about my goddaughter putting her name
All right,
out
fellas.
there.
No.
Oh, I didn't put a name.
You're right.
Yeah, you did.
It's
Not
11.
this.
It's 11:30. To be continued.
To be continued. I agree, Matt. You and I are going to have a conversation about Dune, whether it's on this show next week or on a different show.
Y'all can have it, 'cause I have it.
Nah. We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back. Because I finished reading the book.
We'll come back.
I watched
Yeah,
the
let me do a
'80s
little
movie,
more.
and I did some research on the 2020 version that's coming out here at the end of the year. So we'll talk about that next week.
More research
Okay,
before
okay.
We get into that.
I recommend
But what
watching the
I will
'80s
say-
movie. It's painful.
But what I will say about it,
Okay.
What, Deeb?
I will say one thing about it. I found it very ironic that white folks did not understand the importance of spice until the year 2000 or 10,191. All right, that is what I will say. Y'all, the plot of the story was.
My wife still
let's
doesn't understand what
find-
the purpose of spice is.
Let's find spice. We need spice in the year 10,191. We need spice.
They're still not getting it.
We still don't get it. It's fine. By the way, I season everything. Thank you. With all that being said, Tyler, you got anything to close us out?
Nope, I'm all good.
I
brother.
love you, bro.
All right, Matt, you got anything to take us out?
I love
We
you
lost
too, cousin.
Matt
Nah,
again.
I'm good, fellas. I gotta hit the sack.
All right, fellas. Cliff, my friend.
Love to everyone. Love to
fucking
everyone, regardless
Peace out,
of
fellas.
skin
Till
color
next
or
time.
gender or sexual preference. Just love, please.
Love. Take care of each other.
That's
Take care of
it.
yourselves and one another.
Peace out, fellas.
And
We'll
with
see you
all of
next
that,
week.
thank you.
Love
Fools
y'all.
agree. Love all y'all.
Let's
Take it
get it.
easy.
Later.
Later.
Mm-hmm. It was a great one.